Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Up Zone, where understanding is made simple. We are your host. We are still down one man, but it is okay. It's okay. We are still praying for his return. For everybody that is asking, Ted Moan is recuperating. We're sending him well wishes. We're sending him our prayers. If you want to send him a note, post it on our page. We'll make sure that we get it to him. But look, just keep him in your prayers. Mr. Floyd, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Broke, but I'm happy.
You could play broke with somebody else. I told you I'm never
Yep,
going to believe that. I'm
yep,
never
yep.
going to believe that.
But I'm happy though. But I'm happy. You
I
know.
know that's right. I know that's right. Today we are joined by a phenomenal community activist, somebody who has been very instrumental in so many initiatives throughout Fayetteville, Cumberland County, and surrounding areas. Somebody who is no stranger to telling you how it is. They are not a stranger to radio. Look at the little doggy. I didn't see him at first. Um, and we have somebody who is like a hold you accountable kind of guy in the community. So he is exactly what we like on the Up Zone. We are joined today by Mr. Nero B. Coleman. You got to put some you got to put that B in there.
That's my
Good
name.
morning, Mr. Coleman. How are you?
I'm well, truly blessed. I'm great. And you guys too.
Yes, we are fantastic. Now, before we get started, Mr. Floyd, you have some announcements for us, and I need for you to let the people know what's going on that we know about that we want to make sure that they know about.
Tisha, as you know, school is getting ready to open shortly.
Lord,
I
yes.
think we are past the school age kids, but we want to let the community know that there's
Wait,
going.
wait, wait, hold up now. You are past the school age
No,
kids.
no, 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 no. There's still hope. There's still hope.
I have a senior this year. I got a year.
Okay, okay. Well, we
What's
have
going on
two.
for these kids?
We have two food. I mean, we have two back to school giveaway. One is going to be on August the 11th between 4 and 7 at Soccer State at our baseball stadium.
Okay.
The other one is going to be at our food court on Murchison Road, and that is going to be August the 19th between 11 and 6 at the food court on Murchison Road. And so
Okay.
those are from first grade to 12th grade at our baseball stadium and at our food court on Murchison Road. So parents, if you need some school items, please stop by and visit these two facilities.
Sounds good. Now, before we move into our to take a moment. I have some somber news that I want to share with our audience. Listen, this lady, I met her, 4 or 5 years ago. She was just the light of any room that she walked into. Veronica Jones, Mother Mrs. Jones, has passed away. And Veronica Jones is our current county commissioner. We've talked about her plenty on this podcast. She blew everybody out the water when she ran for office. And I tell everybody that Larry Wright did not win his campaign because he did not have his campaign manager because she was busy running her own campaign. And that's the Veronica Jones we're talking about. I did have occasion to speak with her last night. She made me smile because she did let me know that her mother was an avid watcher of the Up Zone, and so we love our viewers. Us. We love y'all, even the ones that don't like us, but we especially love those that enjoy our program. And we just want to send our condolences to Veronica Jones and her family. She and her mother were extremely close. And so there is nothing that can prepare a daughter to lose her best friend. So, Veronica, our prayers are with you. We love you. And if you need us, just holler at us because we've got 4 ears between, and Mr. Floyd has a lot of wisdom. So, you know, if now, Mr. Floyd, go on and ask Nero the question. Let's just start with your first
Well,
question. What is your
Nero,
question?
Nero, we have been friends for a long time, and we have had our ups and downs, but we have still remained friends. Now, I'm a Democrat,
I'm
and you was a
unaffiliated.
Democrat. So when I start losing Democrat, I want to know why. Now, we talked in the past, we talked several weeks ago. You was helping Freddie, you know. Now, I took that and didn't say too much about it, went on about my business. But then when I heard that you had changed over to unaffiliated, my question to you point blank, why?
For many years, I've been a Democrat. I've been in the party affiliation for many years, and I've learned a lot through the party because I was president of student government when George Tatum, my good friend, came in and asked me to help him become register of deeds, and really brought me into the party structure and taught me the party structure and taught me how to become what I've become as a political advocate in my community. And one of the many things that I've always focused on is doing for those who have least inside the community, see that we get a fair share of what there is. But many years ago, I spoke to my good friend Alan Rogers, who I'm on the program with on Saturdays, about starting an organization called BIV, Black Independent Voters. And because and to be honest, Elmer, you're the reason why I changed.
What?
now,
Wait a minute. Wait a
now, wait a minute.
minute.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain. Let me explain. Let me explain why. Let me explain why. And it's really crucial that people know why. I work with you all 6 of your campaigns to win. And when we finally win, you go to Raleigh and you work with people to bring money and funds back to Fayetteville State and other issues that you have helped along with the other members that work represented. It wasn't all you by yourself, but you and Marvin Lucas and Kurt Deviere and others who were working with you all brought funds back to Fayetteville and back to Cumberland County in astronomical numbers that had never been done before. And the parties have become so alienated with one another nationally, locally, to the point where if you talk to one person in another party from another party, you are ostracized for trying to get something done. If you go in a place where you got to get something done and you got to talk to adversaries and whatever, and you still end up getting something done, then that means you're doing your job. That means you're representing the people. But then when the party structure gets to the point where they don't appreciate you talking to that one or that one, you, John Soka, Kurt Deviere, and all of them by their different parties were sent home. Now we have nothing working in the House and the Senate to bring back the Fayetteville. We have nobody there working to do the things that you guys were doing. And sure, I was a Democrat, and I used to fight with Republicans, and I have friends that are Republicans. I had friends that are Democrats, and it wasn't like I hate you because you're a Republican. You're my friend. You know, you're still my friend. Now, just like we're friends, but we all have different issues that it doesn't make us partners because we're Democrats or partners because we're not Republicans. We're Americans, and we need to start looking at it like that. My vote is only one vote to determine where it's going to go for who the individual is, regardless of what their party affiliation is. And the reason that my affiliation was because my vote is mine. It doesn't belong to any party. It doesn't belong to anybody. And whichever party or person is running to accomplish the things that I need to be accomplished in my community, that's the person I'm going to support. I don't care if it's Joe Schmuck, the dog catcher, or whatever. And
I love that.
the reason that I chose to work with Freddie is because of Freddie's heart.
Well, wait, before you talk about Freddie, let's talk about viewers can understand who we're talking about. So there are now several people that are running for mayor in this next election cycle. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Freddie De La Cruz. He actually ran the last cycle against Mayor Mitch Colvin, and I know people when I say this don't see it, but he did well. He did well in his first election.
I got to give Freddie credit. He did well in his first election, running it by himself. Correct. He
Mhm.
did a great job. But then
He did.
then the field was narrow. The issues and the
He didn't
time,
have time.
and we
That's
didn't
right.
have time. It came after the COVID. It came in the middle. You know, we got to remember that it was only 9 months or so ago that we were doing this thing. Here we are already again 9 months later running again for the mayor. So and it didn't give him or anyone else an opportunity to build a formidable campaign or candidacy compared to where the incumbents or incumbency has. So it's an uphill fight. but then nonetheless, I tell, as I told Troy, he didn't necessarily put it in the newspaper as I said it, but regardless of who wins the race, this coming election, Fayetteville will still have a minority in the mayoral race because he's an
Absolutely.
Hispanic. He's
Absolutely.
still a dark. He's still in the brown category. For those of us who we got to have a black man or a black person in our well, we're not losing with Freddie. Okay,
Right. And
Freddie's
we
from
need the best person. We need the best person.
well, we need people who I'm not saying that those who are in the office, because see, I'm afraid I supported Mitch Coven and I've supported Charles Evans in other campaigns. As Elmer knows, I'm a Democrat. I've been in the fight all the time, and it's not necessarily because they were Democrats, but because of their character and what. Those are the things that I was looking at. That's why I can choose someone else, because of the character, their content. And those are the kinds of things that in all of the people that I've vetted, and people know I've vetted a whole lot of candidates all the way through, as you say, that so my reputation as for what has always been about the character of the individual, who they are
Hmm.
as a person. Just like I ran with Elmer 6 times, we lost, but I still win because of his integrity, because of who he was, and because of what he stood for. It wasn't because he was a Democrat, even though that helped him when I was a Democrat, but 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 nonetheless,
What have you not seen in your community that you want to see? What is it? Because in order for you to make a decision, because you have worked with the mayor a lot, we've seen you work in concert with the mayor's campaign. What is it that you're not seeing happen that makes you say we need to do something differently?
I told Mitch Coven the first time he ran, if you go back and look, that we were in the newspaper the next day after he ran, a picture in the newspaper, me and Mitch Coven, and I told Mitch that night, do something for Murkison Road. Whatever you do, if you don't do nothing, if it ain't but a small part, do something for Murchison Road. The second time he won, I told him, do something for Murchison Road, because I had not seen anything that I can see that says he did something for Murchison Road. Not that Murchison Road is a primary and it has to, but that's his neighborhood. That's where he's from. That's where his roots are. If you're gonna be a mayor and you're gonna touch the city, there's nothing else. Touch your
Touch
neighborhood.
home.
You
Yeah.
understand? That's all. He's done a lot of things. He's bought a lot of things. He's allowed, because of one another thing that the mayor does. A mayor is a leader who organizes the other 9 members or the other 8 members to get things done in a positive manner. Sure, leadership is where I've drawn the line.
Hmm.
When I see
Nero, now on the council we have 8 minorities, and
but see, 8 minutes, and I'm in all their cases too. It ain't just the mayor. Yeah, they all of them know. Nero's been down there and told them, I'm tired of the defecation. I don't care. It's crap. Y'all arguing over things that aren't necessarily be argued over, that you should have took care in the room in the back before you got in front of the citizens, and it should have been organized in a more effective manner. Okay, that's part of the leadership. Okay, then another thing is that I look up Murchison Road, homie, and I don't see anything that's been uplifted except the face of Coven Funeral Home.
now
Now,
wait,
what? Now,
we
now,
have
now,
we have
now,
8 we have 8 blacks. We have
Well,
8
hold,
blacks
wait,
on the
wait,
city
Mr.
council.
Floyd, wait, let's sit, wait a minute,
but
let's
like,
sit
Now
with
it
that
see,
first.
seems
but
Let's
like with
sit with
8
that.
blacks on the city council, we ought to be able to
hey,
do something here.
and you better believe when the city council, when I'm in other races, I'm going to be in the other races when we get to general election. I'm not turning my back on those who've been on the city council, who worked with me and done things like DJ Hare, who worked with me on my equal access to get the
To the late.
$750,000. But see,
Hmm.
I'm not happy with that, because like you say, we got 8 of them that look like me, or 6 of them that look like me. They could have voted it in instead of running around in a circle, but he did get it in. So I can't turn my
So my
back on.
question,
But see,
is,
but
my question to you,
the mayor has still never, to this day, never said anything to me about equal access. Never.
okay, now
Okay.
now the
Now
question of it is,
that's
now
just
with the 3 candidates, and the mayor
4.
won by 63%, like 63%. Freddie won by 37%. By you entering the race with Freddie, that's going to knock an and you have a greater grassroots campaign. So you're going, I mean, your effort is going to cut into that. And Charles has a grassroots campaign. Your effort is going to shift some of those votes away from those two individuals.
I want to get this straight. I'm not. Freddie and I are not running against Miss Colvin and
And Charles
Charles
Evans
Evans. We're running to be mayor.
for the city of Detroit.
We're
That's
running
right.
to bring a different leadership to the mayor's office or mayor's seat. We're not trying to down what Mitch has done or what
That's right.
Evans has done. We're not going to be negative in any respect about what we want the community. And see, we're targeting, like you said, a grassroots. We're targeting a different entity. One thing about the synopsis you gave about the last election, we got to also remember that only 14,000 people voted in the primary. So
Right.
those numbers are going to be astronomically different in the next election because
Yeah,
both
you're
of the
gonna make that
powerhouse.
difference, Chris. What I'm saying, Chris,
No,
you're
no, no,
gonna
no,
make
no.
that difference
What
because
I
of
have
your
to look at,
grassroots
what I
effort.
have to look at as a campaign manager for this campaign is that the numbers are going to be different, and they're going to be different in a different kinds of ways. The mayor and Charles are running against each other, and they're and the way it's been painted in the news, like this is a black thing for the city of Fayetteville when because blacks are the leadership, but there are white people who live in Fayetteville who also have a voice in this thing. There are Hispanic people in this neighborhood who has a thing in this thing. There are old veterans that have a thing. I'm not targeting just the black. I want black votes too. We want just as many black votes as the mayor and Charles. But there are
But you're gonna bring
70.
that. You're
But
gonna
listen,
bring that
there are
Nero in your
seventy
grassroots
thousand.
effort.
There are 70,000 unaffiliated females only in the city of Fayetteville. That's the target. That's the group I'm targeting.
And
There's
let
a
me tell you something, Nero. Let me tell you
Hispanic
something.
group. Listen, no, let me finish. There's an Hispanic group of people registered. It ain't a group. It ain't a large group, but it's a
But it's
group.
enough.
There's a large group of retired military veterans who've given. Freddie served 32 years as a police officer in the military. So it's not like he doesn't have a leadership skills. But I think that the Fayetteville City Council needs a new leadership direction.
So
That
let me interject this as an unaffiliated female. You nailed it on the head when you said we're looking for something because as it stands, and listen, I was on the council. I sat under the leadership. Leadership is lacking. When you have a leader who is more concerned about who gets than about work getting done, you have a problem because much of the work that and I'll say I felt like the work that I tried to get done, particularly and Road corridor was always hindered because I was not allowed to get anything accomplished because I can't get any credit. She cannot get any wins. So when we talk about being able to create a program for elderly people that caps their income their property taxes so that as gentrification takes place along the Murchison Road corridor, they're not forced out. That conversation never went anywhere because Tisha can't get credit for doing that
was
about trying to when you talk about trying to bring infrastructure into the Murchison Road corridor, because Mr. Floyd, you and I talk about this all the time. The first step toward is solid infrastructure. So when you have that conversation and you are being told that you cannot, Tisha can't move initiatives forward because you stifle progress when you are more
That's
concerned
the
about
problem.
who
Not cut you off, but that's the problem with Fayetteville. And Nero, that's the problem with Fayetteville.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the first thing, and that's the first thing Freddie told me. He said, Nero, he says if we had the infrastructure to make Murchison Road look better, more people would probably
would
look at
invest
making
in the
development.
area.
Development. He says if we had the people that own the lots where they're talking about doing the new developments up on Murchison Road, up on the upper end. He said if you had them clean the lots so that they look
Code
like something.
enforcement. Code enforcement.
You understand? Now, hold it. These are things that he brought to me that I never even went to Freddie say, hey, Freddie, Freddie, that was, it was already on his agenda. The same infrastructure things you're talking about, the two issues that you both just mentioned. Freddie brought them to me and say, hey, this is what I. But what another thing that, and see, here's what people got to understand. We can't keep going with party structure if party structure is not
It's not
doing for
working.
us.
That's right.
You understand? I was, excuse my language, I was bitching to Freddie about the fact that the city council allowed a food store to leave the food desert and has not done nothing in the 2 or 3 years that it's been gone to bring something else to replace that, because we still a food desert on Murchison Road. I was bitching because I was mad about that. Freddie said, wait a minute. I got a friend over at
Compare food.
Compare Foods. I'm gonna go over here and talk to them about seeing about what Freddie goes to find out that Walmart still. Remember what he tells me? Walmart still got the lease. The owner
Right.
lives in California, and Grant Murray and those are doing it. And I've already gone and talked to some of these people, and we're looking at bringing a Compare Foods because they're big enough to put right there in that building. And he's already talking to them about putting a thing on food desert, getting rid of the food. He ain't the mayor. You understand? When he's already sees where things need to be done, and he's trying to do them, and he's still running. I can't turn my back on. So, and he's my friend. We'll see. That's another thing. We're friends. I don't care what his party affiliation of mine. That had nothing to do with it when we became friends. I ain't. Are
Nero.
you a
I need
Republican or are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Because we can't be friends if you ain't this and if you ain't that. No,
right.
that
Let me
never
ask
came.
Nero, because I think it's important as somebody who is very aware of what your community needs. Tell me, you've touched on food desert. We've talked about infrastructure. What does the Murchison Road community, what are they crying out for? Because what we're hearing come from the media may be something very different. And let me two points that I want you to think about while you answer this. I know that while looking through the news lately, there in violent crime in the particularly in the area around Fayetteville State University.
Ooh,
Now,
ooh, ooh,
what is the
ooh,
community
ooh,
crying out for
ooh.
in regards to this?
We're crying out for. I tell people I'm an American. I may be a black American, but I want the same thing every other American gets. I'm entitled. I ain't no white privilege. Ain't no black privilege. It's
That's right.
American privilege. I'm an American. I'm entitled to everything. But you got a police department, and this is another one of those new kinds of gentrification and new kinds of redlining. When the police department and police officers are trained to be police officers, and I'm not having nothing against that. But when you got police departments making police reports in a certain neighborhood, and you got 140 of them, just an example, you got 140 active so-called calls or incidences to the police department, and 6 of them are domestic violence, fight with or whatever. 2 or 3 may be felonious felonies, but 90% of those 140 are police stops where a police officer made it his business to stop an individual for tail light being out, tags not being right, or whatever. That and then it's put in as a crime statistic. In the crime statistic, that was no crime unless that police officer decided he wanted to create a crime. So now we got large crime in our neighborhood from the police report. So they come back to our neighborhood meetings and say, "Oh, y'all got high crime here. You got high crime here." And how it affects our neighborhoods is when the actuaries who come and do our insurance for our houses, they say, well, you're in a high crime neighborhood, so you got to pay a higher insurance cost than the guy over on the other side of town who lives in just a high, because crime is crime all over Fayetteville. They shooting everywhere in Fayetteville. It ain't just on Murchison Road.
Well, and
But
I think it really just kind of, and I know people don't believe this when I say it, but I sat in those meetings and I looked at those blotter reports, and the criminal activity along the corridor, the Murchison Road corridor, really was less about gun violence and more about like alarms going off, domestic violence and disputes. We're just now starting to see an uptick in the gun violence, like what we saw at Fayetteville around Seabrook Park the other couple of days. That was abnormal 3 years ago.
yeah,
That wasn't a normal occurrence.
yeah, but it's still, and that's another one of those police things too. I'm going to tell you that has a lot to do with the policing itself and the park and recreation. Why is it that the only place that anybody can go play basketball in Fayetteville, North Carolina, with it white, black, blue, green, is Murchison Road? We got 8, 9 parks, and why you don't have a basketball court at Westover? Why you don't have a basketball park at Lake Rim? If you want to play basketball, you got to drive all the way to Murchison Road to play basketball in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's a concentrating a group of people, first of all, that you got gang activity, you got all these other activities that take place around basketball. That's why they took it out of Honeycutt, because they were scared that was going to happen in Honeycutt, because they did have basketball courts over there. But why'd you take them out? You know what I'm saying? You got there's a whole kind of different kind of
Psychology
mentality
to it.
taking place that makes our neighborhood look like it isn't. You talk about the Murchison Road corridor. What about the Morganton Road corridor? It runs longer. What about the Raleigh Road corridor? It runs longer. What about the Cliffdale Road corridor? It
And
runs
that's where,
longer.
and
You
those were
always
the
talk about
areas
these corridors
traditionally where we,
as
and
if the
those were
Murchison
the
Road is
areas
a long
saw
corridor.
that crime.
Like Murchison Road is a long corridor. No, it's a depleted corridor, and it's depleted because of the city council sitting on their butts and sending money other places instead. Like Freddie saying, you bringing money to the Coliseum, you bringing money to the Arts Council. You let the Arts Council come down there and scare $2 million out your pocket when you ain't got no. They come dressed in outfits and signs, and all of a sudden they got $2 million. Wait a minute, hold up. There was no leadership there. You should have put that on hold. You gonna give them $2 million out of the blue. Where was that $2 million when Murchison Road needed it? What was that? You got all of this money for Coliseum. Why isn't some of that money going down Beach Street on Deep Creek Road, or over by where Kinlaws is, or up across Moore Street, right next to Second Baptist Church, and up on Savora Heights, where you got juxtaposition, where you got 250,000 dollar houses across the street from a $75,000
from a
house.
stuff. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
how you going to? But you still doing things to help Fayetteville? No, that's a bunch of crap. And
So
here we
Nero,
supposed
let me
and we
let me
supposed to
ask
keep on going, doing what we're doing, and we ain't getting
Nero,
jack.
Nero, we have a community here, like you said when you first started. Those individuals who wants to do, we vote them out of office.
That's what I'm saying. That's one
or
of the
run
reasons
them
why.
off,
Out of
or
office.
run them off.
Yeah.
But see,
Yeah.
one of the many things you got to also do though is we got to continue to fight for the things that we still got to continue to fight for. It ain't gonna
I
just
give
go
you this
home
answer,
go
Nero.
home and sit back and say, well, I'm through fighting now because I ain't got it. No, we can't do
I
that.
fought my last few sessions in General Assembly to get Shaw Heights annexed into the city of Fayetteville. Okay.
They sent you home, homie. They sent you home, homie. You fighting for us. You fighting for us. They sent you home. You were doing the right thing. They sent you home, homie. You were doing the right thing, homie. They sent you home.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. See, we are not capable of what those say to us. We are not capable. We want to tell you who we want you to elect.
Of course, that's party structure. That's party structure. That's why they can't tell. And I'm telling all black folk that might be listening to me, if you're in a party, you need to get out of that
Get
party.
out. Get
You need to
out.
get out of that party because your vote is not belong to a party. Your
That's
vote belongs
right.
to you. The party. You don't have to be committed to a party to vote. You of all the people as campaign
And
or
that
whatever.
party don't love
My
you.
man,
That party
they
don't
know
love you.
Nero. They know Nero is known for voter registration. I am known for, but I've never told a person to register Democrat, Republican, or unaffiliated. I told them to register.
Register.
All you need to be registered to play the game. You can't play if you ain't registered. That's all I've been telling. I've never told somebody you got to register Democrat, you got to register Republican. And even though I'm a Democrat,
Nero, I'll give
was.
you an example. like you said about when we first start talking, that is home base. When I went to Raleigh, there was a discussion, and we've been talking about that all morning about Murchison Road car. Okay, one of the first things is that with the Fayetteville State had a sinkhole in it from the hurricane. That was $800,000 that was needed to improve to open up the road. The second thing is that Bryant Hall, Nero, was flooded, and it was really being, it was still in service. But today, that is torn down because we had a vision for a sports complex. That's what is going there,
Mm-hmm.
where Bryant Hall is. The second thing was that the Rosenthal building road. So you enhance that. So I asked that 17.5 million dollars would be there for renovation. Then I jumped on Shaw Heights, doing my part as a legislator to help improve that area because Shaw Heights, Nero, is going to grow on Murchison Road, whether it grows with the city or not, because it lies between two interchange, Bragg
Mm-hmm.
Boulevard and Murchison Road. And the property today is pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're
But see,
going to
but
go in there and buy it up and change it, and it's going to grow, and the city of Fayetteville won't get a dime.
yeah, but see, but that's part of the gentrification and the redlining that takes place in the new modern red line. That's new modern redlining. They just wait for the depart for the uh, properties to drop so in value or the tax, just like
You're
the
right.
city, like they're taking people's properties by foreclosing or down or putting them out of code or making them come up to code when they know the people can't afford to bring the property up to code, so they get them for violating the code, and then the city just takes their property. I
See,
mean,
that's how
all
we
of those
got.
kind of scenarios and things like that are taking place. And if we don't have somebody in the leadership role that's looking to change that, then it's not going to get any better. It's just not.
I want to quickly about the code enforcement and the properties. And I let me preface by saying this. It's a lot of stuff that I think that this part does that is not the most effective. But I want to say to this one, I remember sitting in a meeting and there was a property, I believe that it was on Murchison Road, and there was a lot of discussion about violating it, like some code violations and wanting to come in. And I remember the city manager pulled us all to the said, well, he pulled me to the side. I don't know who else he pulled, but he said, I want you to think about this. He said, think about the fact that you guys have a community that is crying, to be revitalized. You also have people who feel like they're being unjustly treated. He said, now, if y'all start going in here and y'all start condemning these properties or start, code, all of these code enforcement violations, and most of them are air properties. He said, a family is losing their when we take that from them. And when he said that to me, it made me have to think about it from a different angle. There needs to be some revision to how all of this plays out. But when you don't have, and this, I'm going to say it, Nero, you can like people and be if you want, but I'm going to say this. When you have a mayor who somebody else's idea presented as their own and doesn't know how to walk it out because it wasn't his to begin with, because he doesn't want anybody else to get the credit, you have somebody who bottlenecks productivity. If you are not creative, he is not a creative person. He has been placed as a figurehead. People have told him how to move, how to operate by design. If you don't carry creativity, you do not come up with creative solutions. And so
uh,
the issue is you've got an electorate who, when they have creative designs, gets slapped on the hand, gets told to be quiet, and has no support. You have a city that does not flourish. We highlight and tout fake wins in this community because when you say, I've brought jobs, working, who is getting these jobs? What kind of jobs are they? Are they jobs that can sustain a family, or are they simply numbers where you can say we've created jobs? Like, I'm gonna say this that's that play place over there by the mall. I can't even think of the name of it. Main event. What man or woman that has to support a family is gonna make a living working at Main Event that will not cause them to have to take a second job. When you talk about Amazon, Amazon has a bag of problems all its own when you talk about the workforce. So what kind of workforce are we developing? What are we creating? When you talk about public safety, the question is not whether or not the community is safer. The question is whether or not the people in the community are safe. Because if I don't feel safe, it doesn't matter what you tell me statistically. I need to see it in my neighborhood. The question should be enforcement. Are we equitably enforcing the code? Because when I go down my street, I see a bunch of houses where the yard looks like don't nobody there. That is equally as important. And I don't live in a bad neighborhood. That's
Well,
equally as important
peace. That's how a neighborhood create her, as you know, starts deteriorating.
to
It's based on
deteriorate. And
like a code
promotes
enforcement.
crime.
And when
That's
you have
what
a
promotes
neighborhood
crime.
that has like in Coleman enforcement neighborhood, then it breeds crime because that neighborhood, Nero,
But Mr. Floyd,
it's
when
over
you have
24/7, T. It's over
yes,
24/7. So why
yes,
the so I need to go over here because there's more 24/7
I can get
action
it in over here. But let me
because
but the last point I want to make, this the last point, then I'm gonna shut up and you and Nero can y'all can have it. But the last point that I want to make is when you are going to create programs, you need to think about programs that have the most impact. We had meaningless conversations. To me, they were meaningless
when
about
T, let me
creating
cut you off, T.
duplicative.
Let me cut you off right here
Wait,
and
let
go
me
back to
finish
something
this.
that no,
Wait,
no, no.
wait.
Say
Hold on,
something
hold
that
on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
say
Wait,
something
wait,
that
wait, wait.
Nero
Stop.
said.
Time
Nero
out, you
said
guys. This
now
is
Nero
y'all's.
said that one group went to the city council,
Yes.
and came out with
That's
$2.5
what I was about
million.
to say. That's what I was
Okay,
about to
now
say. That's exactly. Go
that
ahead.
group, that group went down there, dressed up, and
Yes.
walked out with $2.5
Yes.
million dollars.
Which is money
That
that could
was
have been
the
placed into creating a program to support the reconstitution of communities. Because if you gonna ding a community, set something up for the people that need help getting it fixed. Help them
Now,
to
if I'm not
repair the
mistaken,
issue.
if I'm not mistaken, you guys asked me to come and tell you why I'm supporting Freddie. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right.
You
Let
got
me
us
get
fired
before
up today, Nero. You got us fired
yep.
up.
But that's the same, and that's the same way Freddie fired me up. That's the same way, and that's what I want to tell you. If that's the same way Freddie fired me up, there's some of the same things you all are talking about that needed to be fixed, or you found complexities in your tenure, or you see it in those are the very same things that Freddie ignited in me that was already in me. But he brought it to me. I didn't go to Freddie and say, I'm looking for this or I'm looking for that. Freddie came to me and said, Nero, this is what I think needs to be done. This is what I think. Like his proposal, being a former police officer, he understands when police come to a call to an incident that they are first police officers. He's because in our neighborhood, when you say police, increase police, we look at you as a negative because that's not what we're looking in our community. We look at, and he's talking about police, community policing. He's talking about having the police work in the community, like go down to Seabrook Park and play basketball with them and have a police car out there where they can see the police car, there. And the police are actually working to change the direction of our children. Let them get to know the police officer. Let the police officer know who they are. So when they come and ask, the police officer come and ask them, well, little Joe, what's going on in your neighborhood? Little Joe being a little more honest and tell him because he's the police, you don't tell him nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You're not going, but going back to what Freddie, just like Freddie, those women that she's talking about, those 40%, those 70 unaffiliated women, a lot of them have kids in their homes that have issues mentally, physically, or whatever. And if there's a crisis in the house, the mother's afraid to call the police because she's afraid the police are going to come and be police, which that's what they do. But they may harm that individual because they have a mental issue. Freddie's talking about taking that part of the call away from the police and putting it in the EMT and fire department, and have the EMT and fire department be the ones sent to that thing. And if the police are due, then that person that comes and says, well, this person is standing there with the knife that's been threatening to kill himself and somebody else, they need help mentally. They don't need the police to come and shoot them because they got a knife in their hand. But that mother's afraid to call because she's dealing with Bobby or Sarah in a manner they've been dealing. But now it's gotten a little bit out. But she needs some help. But she don't need to call the police. But she can't. The help she is not directed to her because it's sitting over there waiting for somebody else to call it for something else. He's saying take that and put it into EMT. Send the right, because a person sees the EMT coming, somebody needs some help.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's me, the person, you understand, that deflates it a lot just because the police didn't come, but somebody came to help. Those are the mothers that we're talking about, coming out and voting for something new, voting for somebody that's going to look at you beyond the well, we'll put them all together. You understand? There are issues that we want to attack. That we see. We're going to be talking about issues. We're not going to be talking about what somebody did or ain't did. We're going to be our campaign is going to be on issues. Crime, economic development, bringing money to the neighborhoods. You know why they say the Walmart didn't make it on Murchison Road, and it hurts my heart every time they tell me is that there's not enough money in the people's pockets on Murchison Road to keep the store going. They lost more money on the pill, where the groceries didn't get bought because there weren't enough people to come in and buy the fresh foods they needed.
Well, Nero,
that has a lot to do with city council.
Let me stop you there. Walmart, sometimes you have to look at, as you mentioned, the documentation. Walmart was counting its operation on 24/7, over 24 hours. Walmart knew that between 11 and 7, hypothetically, between 11 and 7 in the morning,
there's nothing going on.
Groceries sold.
That's right. That's right.
But they counted that as their loss. Okay.
I agree with you, Elmer. I agree with you. However they dressed it up to leave, I agree with you.
That's what they use as loss of revenue. I understand all of this with no one in the store.
I agree with Elmer. Like I say again, that's the excuses that they use to leave. Okay, I understand that. All of it. The fact that the city council, the fact that the city council let that happen.
Yeah, we bought that as a community. Now, what you had, Chris, was like you mentioned before.
What was the incentive? What was the incentive that the city gave to Walmart to come? Where was that incentive? Because Walmart was supposed to give us something back
in return.
In return, where is my return from Walmart? They booked up. Am I getting something from it? No. I don't know. That's why I'm supporting Fred. Freddie's trying to compare foods in the place where the city council sat on their ass. No, I can't go back to the same status quo. I can't let go and say, hey, I still agree. No, because I don't. I mean, we've been getting screwed by voting for the same thing. After 3 terms, going into your 4th term, you tell me you're going to do something new now? No. You should have done something new in the 1st year. Should have for sure done something new in the 2nd year. Your 3rd term, you still ain't done nothing now. But you want me to stand up and tell people, go vote for this one here? No, I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
Well, Nero, we're going to be having
that's the meaning to me as a voter, as a citizen of Fayetteville that's fighting for the homeless. Freddie's upset about the fact that Fayetteville is the only city in the state that don't have a homeless shelter. And that person is talking about let's turn the old Walmart into a homeless. We got enough poor and indigent
in our area. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Look at that as a place to bring homeless. Come on now.
Let me say,
we got a whole lot of abandoned warehouses and abandoned buildings that can be turned into the city owns that can be turned into homeless shelters or something, or if nothing else, temporary homeless shelters. And they got to be right now. We need temporary homeless shelters with the heat right now. And you're talking about cooling stations, or you're talking about in the winter when we need heating stations for the homeless. None of the people some of the people on the homeless tend to want to be homeless. Yes, there's some of them you can't get them to go live in a house. But there's some people that didn't wake up that morning and say, I want to be homeless. It's not something they did. You know,
And
but we
mental health
can't
plays
judge
a
them,
role in all
and
of
we
that.
can't we
We
can't
need
look at
help.
them. It ain't always mental. Everybody's homeless ain't
We
mental either.
but we
Yeah, I
need
mean,
help in the mental
but
health
we need,
space to help rectify this.
but that's what I'm saying. We got to have other directions. We got to show other people that we're trying to help them. You know,
Let me pause you for a second, Nero. Let me pause you for a second because we only have a couple minutes left. We had a whole other show, but this is good. Let me say this. I want you to make sure that you let Freddie know, and we will be bringing him the information as it unfolds. But we're going to be doing a candidate forum. Now, I will tell you, Nero, I don't know if you've ever paid our podcast, but we've made some enemies. And so there are particular people who refuse to deal with us. And so I can pretty much assure you that they will probably refuse to deal with us at the candidate forum, which will
no, no,
give
for
him.
Freddie's ready to talk
No,
to
I know he
anybody
will.
that wants. He ain't gonna. I can tell you that right now. You ain't got to worry about Freddie not wanting to
He
come
came
talk
to us
because
before. He came to
yeah,
us before. And so I
because
want to let you know ahead of time that we will be extending that invitation to
well,
him as well as the other
as
candidates.
his campaign manager, you let me know, and I'll assure you that he will be there.
We absolutely will. And I want you to tell Freddie, and I usually my business, but in the last election, Freddie was the only candidate that ran for mayor that I felt could garner my respect in that campaign. And so even as we move forward, there's a lot that deserves to still be answered from all of the candidates, and I'm looking forward to hearing where everybody is, so that our community can make a valuable decision about who they want to support. And I want to echo what you said. I'm gonna give you 60 seconds. Hold on 1 second. I want to echo what you said when you said we need to recognize that our vote does not belong to anybody, and that people need to not take for granted that because we are Black, or because we are a woman, or because we are a man, or a Democrat, or a Republican, that we are all going to go along with who the candidate is because they have a D or an R, or they're a woman or a man. Earn the vote. Every person running for office now needs to earn the vote. Mr. Floyd, before Mr. Coleman, do you have anything that you wish to add before we let Nero give his final thoughts?
Nero, let me hear your final thoughts because you switched party, and I'm still a Democrat, and we still gonna be friends now. Keep that in
Absolutely.
mind. We still gonna be because I'm gonna need you at some point in time, just like you're gonna need me.
If you run it again, I'm with you, bro. Don't even worry about that. It ain't whether you're Democrat, it's because you're Elmer Floyd and your integrity and your character is what I look at you for, and I get before and after. So that's what those are the kinds of things I look for in a candidate. I don't care if you're DRR, if what's your character, what's your integrity. Like that. And that's my last thing. I'm going to say. Freddie wants to bring leadership. One of the many things I'm telling Freddie is you're going to also, when you speak to the people with the voters that we're talking about, I'm speaking to the voters in District 9, 5, 7, 2, all of them, because not only are they coming to vote for their representative on the council, but they're coming to vote for a mayor. They need to vote for someone who's going to be willing to work with if they want a park in their neighborhood, or if they want streets done in their part of the neighborhood, they're going to have leadership at the top to work with the same thing. Just because you sent Zabu from this district or Joe Knucklehead from that district doesn't mean that Joe Knucklehead and Zabu gonna get something done. Because unless there's somebody else
It
working,
takes
where
leadership.
everybody's working to get everybody's things done, so that all of the city benefits from what was done, then that's what leadership is. If you got leadership that's looking at one section and not looking at, that's why I tell Freddie, we're concentrating on every district. We're not just running for the mayor's office. We're running to represent that district and that district and that district and that district too. Not just we want all the districts to know we're running for them too. We're not just running. We're running for District 9. What are your problems? Freddie's gone into these neighborhoods and still trying to go, and we will be going into these neighborhoods, talking to the leaders in these neighborhoods to find out what you do. What's your problem over here in District 9? What's your concern over here in District 2? What's your concern over here in 4? And all of these, because he wants to have a breadth of knowledge of what the communities want when he gets to be in leadership role. That's that's the advice I'm giving him. That's the one. How are these people going to know that you actually want to be the mayor if you're not going into the neighborhoods seeking to talk to them? Freddie has gone to uh, Mount Sinai's museum just so he can get a cultural history of Murchison Road and how over the last 50 years that church as well as the surrounding community has benefited from it. I guarantee you, neither one of the two opponents has ever been in the museum, and they've been here
It's
all
three.
the time.
Don't you forget about Quansandine. It's three opponents.
Oh, I said the other three. Quincy Dean too. I'm including Quincy Dean. Quincy Dean's a good friend of mine. I ain't got no
Yeah, I
problem
like
with this.
you. Yeah, I like
Quincy Dean,
you.
I mean, Quincy Dean is my friend. All of them, I know all of them. All it's not a friend thing.
That's
It's
right.
not a
It's about
friend
what you
thing.
feel is best for your
You
community.
understand? Well, all of them good. All of them are good people. I'm not knocking any of them. But none of them of what I see have the characteristics that I need to see in the candidate that I want to be mayor than Freddie at this moment.
I love that. Mr. Floyd, come on, give me your closing thoughts. Wrap up today.
I think Nero, thank you for coming up and be the person that I always thought you would be, and that would speak what's on your mind. Although some of us may agree and some of us may disagree, but I respect your ability to express your own personal feelings and how you see my party have moved. Well, I just want to say we have a unique. My party is super unique, and that's why we have lost over 500,000 registered voters in the last decade.
And I want to say this: the party game is unique. Both parties. It's a part of America.
Both
It's a
of them.
part of the game, and the party game has played for me. I mean, because one thing that's written in the Constitution is one man, one vote. It ain't said nothing about no party in the Constitution. It's not part of the Constitution. It's something that they made up and try to make it tied to the Constitution. But I tell people, if you're an American, read the Constitution.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Know the
For
Constitution
sure.
and know that man, there's a man running for office on the higher level that wants to get rid of the Constitution. And those of us who look like me, our only freedom is in that piece of paper.
Mr. Floyd, there's so much what?
Good and the worst of us, Nero. There's so much bad in the best of us. It behooves none of us to sit back and talk about the rest of us. And thank you
And I
again, man, for being
yeah,
straightforward.
you coming on, and I want to tell everybody, make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, because this is where you get unfiltered information. And our whole objective is to educate so you can make your own decision, because who you vote for is your business. Like Nero said, one man, one vote. I also want to remind you that he who the sun sets free is free indeed. Be free. Be free. Do all of the things that try to bind your mind, bind your hands, and bind your time. Make good decisions, because, hey, at the end of the day, you got to live with what you choose. Appreciate you for tuning in. And we are going to try to talk about the other stuff next week. Nero, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate you.
You all are going to send me that link.
You got it. I'll send it to your
Okay.
email.
All right.
All right, y'all. Well, have a wonderful afternoon. Let me play our outro, and we will catch you next week.